Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again. So now we're about to start the next session. The next session, session number 7, breaking the glass ceiling. So I hope you all are ready to start. The participants who are outside, please welcome in and have your seats. We would request you to be seated. So we're about to start the session. The next session is breaking the glass ceiling. The moderator and the chairman, I would like to call upon Mr. B. Govindarajan, COO, Tirwin Management Services Private Limited. So please welcome onto the stage. Can we give him a round of applause? Mr. Bashim Govindarajan, known as Govind among the industry friends, stepped into air cargo business in early 1974. In 1992, he moved to Air India Staff College, Santa Cruz, the alma mater for many in Indian air cargo business. As head of cargo training, he was also responsible for global regulatory compliance for dangerous goods and regulations. He was a member of IATA Dangerous Goods Training Task Force, DGTTF, for many years. In 2008, he opted to leave Air India and formed Tirwin Management Services Private Limited to pursue his passion of providing cargo training and consultation to the trade and industry. Mr. Govindarajan is an invited speaker to national and international conferences and voices his opinion on aviation and logistics subjects through print and visual media. And therefore, I take this privilege to welcome Mr. Bashim Govindarajan to start the session. So please give him a big round of applause. Thank you. And I would like to introduce our speakers, Mr. Yashpal Sharma, Skyways Air Services Private Limited. So please welcome onto the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, join your hands together and welcome him onto the dais, please. Welcome, sir. And now I would like to welcome Mr. Vaibhav Vora, Managing Director, Continental Carriers Private Limited. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. Thank you. Please be seated. Next, we would like to welcome Mr. Avishkar Srivatsava, Chief Innovation Officer, the PDP Group. So please welcome onto the stage. Can we join our hands together for him? And next we welcome Ms. Chaitali Mehta, Director, EKF Global Logistics Private Limited. Can we give a big round of applause to a wonderful lady? Thank you. Last but not the least, I would like to call upon Vice Chairman FFFAI Office Bearer, Mr. Sudeep Dey. Please welcome on to the stage, sir. Can we give a big round of applause to him? So thank you so much. So here we go. We start the session, the breaking the glass ceiling. Thank you.
Good afternoon, every one of you. I always get the benefit of being in a post-lunch session. Whenever I come for this type of session, especially the post-lunch, I think of a very old Italian story. There was a king who had a very peculiar way of punishing the culprit. So once the charges are proved, he will be put in an enclosure and they will herald a starving lion inside. The lion's job is to finish him. That is the execution style. One day, one particular guy was put. The lion was heralded inside. He did not eat, it came back. Second time also it happened. Third time also it happened. So fourth time, the lion got fed up, asked the guy, "You don't feel hungry?" You don't want to eat me. He said, no, I am feeling hungry. I would like to eat you. But after eating you, the king will talk for 1 hour. I have to listen to him. It is better to starve rather than having the food and listening to the king for an hour. As much as possible, I will make it as interesting. Because I got all kids on my right and left hand side. When Sri Dushyant called me to say, sir, there is a FFI convention, I want you to be there, I immediately thought, yet another conference. Because if you have come to these conferences for, say, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, every 2 years we will change some terms. If you go back to history, in every conference we used to talk flown as booked, delivered as committed, just in time, just in case. And in the recent days, we slowly changed it. We went for last mile delivery, last mile challenges. In other words, the terms come and again, so I started preparing what is the new term which I have to use it in the conference. Because today's conference, if you talk to anybody, it is either geopolitical or it is ESG. So I was also preparing, okay, I must do something. Then he called me to say, no sir, we don't want you to come to the podium and give a presentation. Can you talk to our generation as young children? I immediately said, that cannot be better an opportunity to be with the children. Because as you grow old, we want to be with young people. That is also one of the reasons I readily agreed. I'm seeing on my right and left, enterprising guys, people on whom the profession has not been trusted. Because almost every month I will get a call from one of the Desi freight forwarders. Sir, is there anybody willing to buy my company? I'll ask him, what happened? No, my son has gone to USA, he is not interested in coming back. My daughter has gone to Australia, she is not willing to come back. So I am not seeing a succession plan within my organization. So I am thinking that I can get rid of it. This is the time I get these children who have voluntarily taken it and who was building the organization on the ethos of the Indian culture, and they are trying to do something for the industry. So it is my honor actually to be with you, my dear children. When you speak in Tamil Nadu, we must speak something in Tamil also. Even Modi Sahib is talking on some Tamil couplets in parliament and everywhere. The Tamil word which I want to use today is one stanza from Thirukural. ஈன்ற பொழுதினிலும் பேருவகை அடைந்தால் தன் மகனை சான்றோன் என கேட்ட தாய். Let me explain to you. ஈன்ற பொழுதினிலும், a lady feels happy when? It was asked. When a lady feels absolutely happy. When she matures, that day, probably. Yes, that is an internal happiness with her. When she touches the hand of the first man in her life, definitely there will be some sort of happiness. When the doctor says, oh, congratulations, you are conceived, that particular moment, she will certainly have great happiness in her mind. When she delivers the baby, when she looks at the baby, naturally her happiness will be the peak. But our Thiruvallur doesn't recognize any one of those things. What he says, ஈன்ற பொழுதினிலும், that is at the time of delivery, when she looks at the child, she gets more happiness when the children are recognized by the society and community. I am so happy. We have got SLS here. We have got Vipinji, and Vipinji is here. I was telling Chaitali why Harish Bhai did not come. Because this is the time that you have really given the best to your parents. You have made your parents proud. Thank you, Vipinji. Thank you, SLS, for producing such wonderful people for the industry. Having set the course, let me start getting into that. These children have had options to go anywhere, everywhere, do anything that they want. And when they have taken over, it would not have been an easy thing. It would have been a difficult task. There are a lot of what you call reservations. Sometimes I was telling somebody, for example, Yash would have called somebody as uncle, suddenly he becomes boss in the company, how the relation will be itself is a big challenge. So they have gone through the drill, they have created a space for themselves, they are today in a position to be here on a stage and be with the people. What I request from them is, there should be a takeaway for the generation next who are seated here, or who has got younger people in your family, how they can be motivated to take it forward. As a protocol, I start with Chaitali, because we have always been told, ladies first. The question I would like to ask Chaitali very precisely is, I'm in this industry for 49 years. I know cargo business is an absolute male-dominated business. In some of the freight forwarding offices, even the sweeper will not be a lady. In such a male-dominated industry, you tell me the secrets. How you navigated, how you got in, how you could establish yourself in the industry.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming back to listen to all of us after lunch, because there was a joke going on that when we entered the hall, nobody was present. So we thought, according to Yash, we might have to just dance and put on some rock and roll music to have people come inside. So we hope we are entertaining enough for all of you and nobody sleeps while we are talking. Thank you, sir, for this question. And it's not been easy. When I joined, we didn't have too many women at the top. We've always had women at the lower levels, at the mid levels, and even maybe never at the topper echelons where they were taking decisions in terms of operations, where they were heading companies. And to be fair, even the people that we were dealing with didn't know how to deal with women, because this was never considered to be a woman's world. There was always, and it's still on, that women don't understand operations. Women may be able to be good finance people, HR, marketing, but never hardcore. And just like everybody else, I have not had it easy. It looks easy like that. When I started off, some of you who've known me, who've seen me grow up, know I've had a very hard taskmaster in form of my father, Harish Bhai. And we started off at a very different way for my training. I was never given any privileges, nor was I given any special treatment. I changed 2 buses to go to work. I walked 15 minutes to come to office, and this went on for a year and a half. I sweated, I got wet in the rains, everything that could possibly be done, like every average Mumbaiker does. After that, when I started going on to the cargo complex, people didn't really know, so I was treated like an ant under a microscope because they've never seen a woman over there. So the initial days were like, ये क्या कर रही है इधर, इनको बोलो साइड पे जाने के लिए, हम लोग बात करते हैं. Learning operations was not easy because we have women here. We also have kids who have joined their family business, and they know how difficult it is to get respect of the very people that you have to work with your peers and with your contemporaries. Strangers will give you the correct advice, but the closest people next to you whom you have to work with may 5 out of 10 times not give you the right advice. I have been both lucky and unlucky. I've had good teachers, I have bad teachers, I've had very bad teachers. But at the end of the day, I was literally thrown through the wolves because Haresh Bhai believed that whatever had to be done would have to be done and he was not going to interfere. So whichever way I was taught was the way that it was going to go ahead with trial and errors. Having said that, there comes a point where you just figure out that you pull up your boots and say if whether you want to quit or you want to succeed. And if you want to succeed, then you are just going to put everything in it. And that's what exactly I did. Lots of trials and tribulations, but eventually it did work out. And I learned operations. I learned one of the most difficult topics that we have, which is imports.
Excellent,
So,
Chaitali.
yes.
One issue I want to ask you, since you touched operations, you had any
Sir,
opportunity?
give me 1 minute, sir. Sir, sorry for the interruption. The House would like to welcome Chief Commissioner of Customs, Mr. MVS Chaudhary. Please, Chennai Customs, please give him a round of applause. Welcome, sir.
So, in operations, there might have been opportunities or necessities for you to be in the cargo complex night 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Did you find yourselves safe and secure?
You know, I was thinking, what do I like about the industry the most? And the fact is that I find myself home at the cargo complex more than what I find myself at home in my own house. Adarsh is probably where I spend the maximum amount of time, but I have been at the cargo complex at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, middle of the night, and not once have I ever felt unsafe, considering that there have been no women at any point of time, at that point of time in the night or during the hours. Enough that my parents feel that if I'm staying back till 3 o'clock in the morning at the cargo complex, I don't get calls. But if I tell them that I'm going out for dinner and I'm going to be back at midnight, I get 10 calls asking me where am I, who am I with, and whether I'm going to come back. For every single person here, being a woman, I have to reiterate and go on record and say, this is probably the safest industry that we have. We have some of the safest ports, airports. I have literally grown up in the air cargo complex, so I probably know the air cargo complex more, the turns and twists, and the buildings than I know of my own house. But this is prima facie the most, we don't have any sexual harassment cases, we do not have cases of where women have complained. This is the safest industry. A lot of you have come and asked me time and again, including parents, how do you manage navigating? And honestly, the people that you work with are probably the best people that you could work with ever.
Excellent. That's very nice. Very nice to hear. I'm sure it will be certainly a motivational factor for many of you to put the daughters or girls at home, because this industry needs that people also. I move to Mr. Yashpal Sharma. First, I want every one of you to congratulate him. His company has just completed on 8th of August, if I'm not mistaken, 40 years. And more important, 20 years in Chennai. So it is 40-20. And I am taking something from Chaitali. She said, we have sweat a lot. That's a beautiful word. Normally, two things are supposed to be making an organization. One is the sweat, another one is the blood. But I want to tell you, Chaitali, all the veterans sitting here, third generation, 2 generation, they have not just put the sweat and blood, but they have put the tears also in building the company. That feeling, that thought must be with us. It is not the sweat or the blood. When I mean the tears, the people who have gone through the industry for so many years will certainly appreciate what I mean by that. Yashpal, you have completed 20 years. I'm sorry, 40 years. And if I'm not mistaken, after the Chennai branch was opened, only you joined your father in business before. So he has taken 20 years to develop the first branch. Because I know Chennai was your first branch after the Delhi. But in this last 10-15 years, you have moved to 17 branches. and you have become reasonably, I would say definitely bigger in size, bigger in operation. Somewhere I read I was watching your TV video also a few days back. You did not send it to me. You have moved to around 900 and odd employees. You have got branches spread over. And father had a particular model of business in air cargo. But today, the Skyways is diversified. It is having different verticals. It has got different dynamics. It can handle any different dynamics. Share us your journey.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, yeah, it's been 27 years for me. I joined the company in 95, and the journey's been quite fantastic. Honestly, I was not supposed to be part of this industry. Probably, the only way generally you get into this industry is, you largely say, is either by inheritance or by accident. So I was here because of inheritance and by accident. So both things happened to me. That's why I was here. And probably destiny is why destiny was there for me to be here. The industry is very, very interesting, dynamic, volatile, versatile. I think it's an industry which is truly global, and it's an industry which allows everyone and anyone to define their own pace. You don't necessarily need to work the way anybody else works. So you can say, I will work 10 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, 2 hours a day, or 24 hours a day. It's entirely up to you. You can work in whichever domain you want. You can work in whichever vertical you want, whichever area you want. And when I joined, we were about 17 people in the company. And today we are 900 plus. It's been a great journey. I think, since the topic is a lot about the family and, how the next gen happens. And like I said, I was not supposed to be here. The very important factor that I think which is required for us to do to, our kids is brand our industry very well. One of the reasons when you say, my child went overseas and does not want to come back, not only come back to home, to our country, but also doesn't want to come back into the business that probably we have set up. So one of the key factor that I would want everybody in this room who has next generation and they want the next generation to possibly be a part of their business, they must brand the industry very well. You must brand your job, your profile, your role very, very well to the kids. If you go back and show them stress, if you go back and show them the issues and the problems that you have in your business, your kids would not like your industry. So give them a good brand image of your own business, and I'm sure more and more kids will probably look at this as an opportunity, one of the opportunities that they can explore in their career. So that is something that I would really want to tell the whole world here that they must do. And over the years, it's like I said, the journey's been great. I think because of the kind of versatility that this world of logistics offered is why I could hang around. I was an erratic person, very impatient person. I think I still am, but I stayed in this industry because there is never a dearth of opportunity to grow. You can just go and bend your back as much as what you want. And that's been probably why I've stayed around, and a new challenge every day, a new something to explore every day. You can innovate, evolve, even transform.
Good, yes. One question I actually wanted to ask you, in the sense, in this young age, you have got many avatars. Suddenly you are seeing in a conference, you are in ACFI, you are this, that, and all. How do you balance your personal demands from the family and also professional commitments?
That's a good one and a tough one always. I'm sure everybody in this room also fights the same thing, the equilibrium or the balance between your personal life and professional life, even in your professional life from one frame to another frame. I think it's important that you are able to kind of tune your mind into switch between different zones and different channels. It's easier said than done, but it's important that you give importance to the moment. So if I am sitting here on this panel, on the stage now, I need to give 100% of my mind and attention to this. So when I'm with my wife or my kids or my friends, I need to be there. I don't need to be here. So I think That's the only key that can help you to switch between one frame to another.
I read the book Power of Now too many times, but I did not get so much clarity. Thank you, Yash. I moved to Vaibhav. It's very interesting. Because that company, Continental, I have been associated for quite long years. And I was so touched this morning when I entered here in this door. Vipinji was sitting there. First person to gain my attention was he. So I started talking to him certain things. Normally, I used to call Continental as the nursery of Indian cargo. Many of the small plants which are planted by him and TNG, they all occupied CEOs and VPs and MDs of many of the multinational companies which came in. I'm sure you can recollect whatever names. You take any of the companies. That company did not bother when some of them who are grown in the soil, when they got transplanted somewhere else. I won't say they were upset or anything. Oh, okay, it's a school, we have made you, you go. At the same time, Continental is one company. Some of the names still, I asked him one name. Surjit hai. First question was, yes, he's just 54 years in the company. In the company, not his age. He is 54 years. Then I was asking about Vase. All the old names are there because they are still in the company. There is a family touch. There is a professional touch. And I know for certain, you may not know, Vipinji will endorse, they used to get veterans from the market those days to start Ajit Singh. We had Yogi Mathur. The people who have spent around 40 years in the industry, they were part of Continental Group. In other words, it has got an emotional touch, it has got a professional touch, and it has got everything. In that type of organization, steering is easy and also difficult. To quote one of the emotional touch one, Continental had one manager by name Vishwanath Bhatt. He attained 70 years 10 days back. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, the entire Continental employees in his days, today they are in very many companies, very many organizations, some are retired, some are on their own, but they all assembled for a lunch on his birthday. And if I'm not mistaken, even Vipinji was invited. For some reasons, he could not make it. That is the culture they have developed. In that cultured organization, how you steered in, how are you making your presence felt?
So, I think that's the challenge, the burden and the opportunity for a family generation member that's being a part of the company now, is when you come in to a wealth of experience, people like family that are running the company, so you are one of them. You are not just somebody who's going to be entitled, because everybody is a member of that entire family. And this is a collective effort. This is a collective effort of all these years that has brought the company to this stage. And now it is your opportunity. Look at it as an opportunity. I wouldn't call it a burden, but it is your opportunity to take that forward. Carry them along. So I think, this was something that was touched on yesterday as well in terms of the knowledge and skilling session. I think that's where a lot of the energy goes, is where you sit with everyone and you talk and converse about what the vision is, because the vision cannot be one person's vision. It has to be a collective vision. So when the company's vision is aligned, and this is something that's visible in all endeavors today, is when everybody talks about the same goal. And talking about the same goal is in itself a journey. When you have to sit together in meetings, in rooms, and it cannot be a top-down dikkat or a memo. It has to be something that collectively everybody sees and visions. So that's the role that is bestowed upon now as the leader, because when it comes to experience, you can't have that experience. 35 years or 40 years in an industry, you've seen it from the boondocks, you've seen it when there was no infrastructure. And that's the wealth that is used when crisis hit or when problems come. So, you know, we talk about digitization today, but when crisis was hitting last year or last to last year, digitization helped, but practical knowledge was also needed to make things happen. So coming of those two things together is the onus that sits with us as the newer leaders of the company, where we bring in our new age thought processes and sit with everyone and align them, train them or take them forward, because you can't train them functionally. They know more about the business, about how things are done, much better than you can learn in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Because, you know, it's the way things are. Every year, you come into business, everybody's wealth of experience is increasing at that level. What you bring is a new perspective. And everybody needs to start understanding that perspective. You know, like, for example, what Neeraj Amani touched on yesterday as well, is all they brought in was better planning. It was the same people, but with better planning for crisis management. So that's the only thing you can do. Bring better planning, better teamwork, better alignment, and obviously through your, adoption of technology and other things. So for example, just simple things like Zoom and getting onto meetings with all your stations together and conducting a discussion as to how things are done will bring out all the answers to all the problems. And that's what we are. At today's scenario, I think, as leaders, we're really just bestowed upon problem solving. And that's what we're doing. The answers are all in the room. The other thing that you need to do is obviously a little difficult, but very important, is also look at this emotionally. You know, people are attached to companies and they're spending more time in the company than they are spending at home with their families. So that emotion that goes into running a business or being a part of that system, you can't walk in today and just disregard that emotion. You know, they're giving their lives to the company, so you have to sit there and respect that. And if you show that respect, they can feel that respect. The goal is common. That's the end game. So you pay respect to the emotion. And if you make everyone believe that this is the goal, you realize people also leave behind insecurities and other things, because they realize, you know what, you value their emotion and they accept that that maybe they're not fit to take that role and somebody else can be brought in to support them in taking that role. So that's what we've been doing in terms of just talking, discussing on how things can be done, and obviously doing it in limited time period, because, you know, most of our times have to go in transaction and doing things as well. So balancing both of those out.
Excellent, excellent. This is, that is when you are a owner or a leader. What you said very nicely, I enjoyed it in the sense, you should be democratic, but to final decision you have to be autocratic. In the sense, it's a beautiful concept. Excellent, very nice. I have on my left, when he was about to come and got myself introduced, I said, I would like to see your birth certificate. Because a little kid, welcome, very nice of you, make yourself comfortable. I saw his profile, very interesting. Chief Innovation Officer. He has given a very good title for himself, Chief Innovation Officer. I have a great liking for the word innovation. Because I also believe that every great man's invention, you will find your rejected thoughts. That is, we have thinking, everybody thinks, everybody gets ideas. Who becomes an innovator is the guy who has pursued it and find a solution. If you have not pursued it and found a solution, your thinking, your imagination, everything gets killed in imagination stage itself. And you have taken as your chief role in the organization. How do you find it easy when you say, you said it, discuss, get it done. Suppose you innovate something. What is acceptability of your innovation within your organization?
Thank you, sir. And good afternoon, everyone. So it's really interesting to have sessions like this, and it's really heartening that FFI, the esteemed dignitaries, are wanting to know what the youngsters are feeling about the industry and how the youngsters are envisaging the logistics industry will be. In terms of my work as a Chief Innovation Officer, so I have joined my family business in 2015, and My father, who's a very dynamic personality in the logistics industry, he never gave me a standard template. He never told me that now that you've joined, these are the things you need to follow and report back to me, and then this is how we are going to take things forward. He told me that you have joined, you have got a good education from a B school, you see how you find the business, you see how you find things are, and then you make a decision. Do you want to invest time in this business? Do you want to invest your working hours and your professional career developing this business? The choice is upon you. So once I joined my family business, we are a logistics company based in Calcutta, and we are having an ICD in Durgapur. Once I came from New Zealand after completing my studies, I saw how the work environment was, and there are certain things which I really liked. There are certain things which I felt could have been better. I thought, let me give it a try. Let me work for a year. Let's see how things are, and then I'll take another call. What I felt is like there is so much of opportunities in this logistics industry. This industry is craving for getting organized. In 2016, Samir sir had come to Calcutta in a convention, and he asked people, I want people to raise their hands, those who have joined the industry by choice. And I raised my hand, and the question seemed a normal question, but then I saw very few hands were raised. I did a deep dive into this. I found out that, yeah, most people are in this industry because they just joined it. They had no other idea about it. After joining the industry, they started learning about the industry. Then they either liked it or they had invested so much time anyway that they thought, let's just be here because I have got the work experience. I wanted to change our workplace culture. I wanted to make it a place where if my friends and my networking people from different parts of the world, if they visit my office, they see happy people working here as well. We cannot be a company where there is a different strategy for the top management, and as we go down the line, there are people who are just working without knowing what's happening. So in terms of innovation, what I wanted to do was I wanted to set our company's mission statement. What is our company's vision? What is our company mission? And what is our key value drivers? And we did it by a two-way dialogue with the employees and with the management. Once we started doing this, we started innovating. And innovation does mean getting those complex projects in place, bringing those interesting logistic solutions that reduce prices. Of course, that is true. But how do we facelift the logistics industry? It's when we start innovating in areas where people are not looking. Our employees are talking to their colleagues and their friends across industries. Do they know what is the impact of their work? Or are they just working because that has what has been delegated to them by the top down? My goal for innovation, sir, was to make sure that people are understanding why are we doing what we are doing, to find out and get 360-degree feedback. Because as you mentioned, we have inherited employees who have years of experience and they have seen the company rise from the ground up. They will feel really valued if we take their feedback. Yes, they may not have those fancy B school degrees, but what they have is something we will never have. They have seen the hard work of our parents who have given us this platform. And if we can take them along in this two-way dialogue into the next generation of logistics, tomorrow is our Independence Day where we turn 75, and our government's vision is at 100, India should be the global leader. That will only happen when all the MSME sector comes together. We start valuing our own company, set up those vision statements, start innovating at areas where people are not looking at. And that's when we can make a big difference in this industry. Thank you.
It's a very good approach. Generally, we say when you innovate, don't make it as just noticeable. Noticeable, enjoyable, recognizable. Any innovation should have that three components. Many occasions we do innovation, which goes unnoticed even sometimes. Excellent. Now he also brought in a very good point called the values of the organization should be established. So I'm going to, now all the four, I individually ask them, let me go it as a group. If you see this type of youngsters in the market, I'm not talking about logistics, in the country. First one is startup, After some time, valuation. After some time, IPO. And probably on the first day of listing itself, IPO has become something else. Do you people, because the values have been built by the parents, do you see values in your organization or do you see valuation for your organization? One after another. Vaibhav?
That's a very interesting question. I think, there's no fundamental difference between values and valuation, if you ask me. Because it's how you can showcase your values to the world that will create the valuation. I mean, that's what the end game is, right? That's what everybody's selling. Everybody's putting it out there and making it fancy and make it seem as if that's the valuation, and obviously selling you a zero cash flow business with losses around, whereas you've got cash flow and you've got a business, you've got tried and tested machinery which is working, basis some thought process that is keeping parts intact and keeping the pieces connected. So if the outside investor or outside person looks at that value, he's going to ascribe a value to it. I mean, that's what it is. It's just probably, you've got some fancy investment banker or a business consultant packaging it up and putting it out there, which is a task that now is bestowed upon, leaders of companies today, because, it's no longer just the challenge of capital as it used to be. We're talking about finance, we're talking about other things, and that's where this valuation piece comes in. But your values is what gets you that valuation. It's not the other way around.
Excellent, excellent. That's what exactly I wanted. There's a new concept which you are discussed among the people. Do you want to be rich or do you want to be wealthy? Do you want to be rich or do you want to be wealthy? Sir, what's the great difference about it? What we are talking is, I want to be wealthy. That is values. The wealthy will make certainly a person rich. In other things, may not be in rupee, ana, paisa. We see a guy coming on Fortuner car, 30 lakhs. He has got a safari-suited driver. I get out of it with my typical Tamil Nadu white color dhoti and white color shirt and this thing. Many of you will think I'm rich, but I have not paid the EMI for 10 months. I may appear to be rich, but I may not be wealthy. That's what exactly very nicely said. If you build values, the organization will get valuation. Thank you very much, Vaibhav. Very nice. What about Chaitali? What's your views on it?
It may sound funny, but I don't believe in valuation. I don't believe in IPOs as far as freight forward. I don't believe in valuation, and I don't believe in IPOs as far as our industry is concerned, because I think our model is very different. And when we get into the rat race of trying to get valuation done for our companies and trying to get into the IPO thing, we lose the essence of who we are. Many companies lose their souls, and we pretty much forget as to why we joined the industry and what we are doing and the importance of this industry. I may be old-fashioned. I may not think the way the younger, my peers, my contemporaries of my age or my generation think, but I believe that the logistics industry is probably the most powerful industry that we have in the world today, because what we do is what runs the world, what runs the economy, and we don't feel proud enough of our industry. Yes, we have problems, and who doesn't have problems? But if we were to remind ourselves of the numerous things that we have done, which have helped make the world go around, which helps saves people's lives, and I'm not talking vaccines and serums because I think it's been overdone and overdid with, we would only lay emphasis on value. And I wish that the importers and the exporters understood that our values come from the companies that we run. It doesn't matter if it's professionally run or it's family run, but the very fact that we make a difference to the world is what is important for me. So
Excellent.
it may not be the answer, but sir, this is what I believe in.
That's your true belief.
Yes, sir.
And that is your true value.
Thank you.
Good. What's your opinion?
So, value and valuation, I'd say that both are important. So, let's talk about valuation and value. If we just focus on valuation, there is a efficiency management matrix which says most of us mostly focus on things which are important and urgent. If you don't do it, you're going to face a crisis, and it's an important crisis. So, the thing which we should not fall in the trap is when we think of valuation, let's not just think that this is urgent, we need to create this valuation now, and we are ready to sacrifice some of our values to get the valuation higher. I feel we need to focus on things which are important and may not be urgent. For example, relationship building. It's very important, but we often delay it for a day or a week or a month that let's come back to that. But the organizational values can only develop once we start focusing on things which are very important for us and which we may delay, but we shouldn't. Once we start focusing on the values, the valuation kind of takes care upon itself. At the same time, we should not have a wishful thinking that, yeah, if we are having good values, we will have a good valuation. In fact, Shankar sir had mentioned a very interesting thing about perception management, and it had also been shed light on this session. How are we having the dinner room conversations at home? How are we projecting the logistics industry? If as an industry we are having a high prestige, then the valuations will automatically take care of itself. But as an industry, if we think of our logistics as, okay, this is a very blue collar based industry, it's not much things are happening. Even if your company has a very good value system, by falling in the logistics industry, the valuation goes down. I feel valuation is something, it's the entire industry's responsibility in logistics to look into. Thank you.
In other words, it's not the balance sheet, it is the sum total of it. Now I'm going to hear very aggressive, because 17, 18 branches in 8 years means more. So, what's your opinion?
Okay, I have a completely different opinion from all of these actually. So both values and valuation are two absolute distinct things. They kind of don't have much of correlation to each other. Your core values, so that is the ethos of your system, your ecosystem, your beliefs, they are what make you, what break you, what keep you. So they are a constant of life. You don't go and change core values every second day. They remain all through. They cannot change, and they should not change. They are very important to be passed on from one generation to the other, one manager to the subordinate when that person takes over. So core values are something which are absolutely different, and a valuation is a completely different point altogether. In today's world, when Weber was talking about valuating companies with no cash flows, losses, and it's the market share dynamics which are being played. I think it's something which we cannot ignore in the world today. 20 years ago, when probably an Amazon was formed and everybody thought it's not getting anywhere, today they are not just in their domain, they are in multiple domains. And there's a long time that Amazon, as a e-tailer, did not make money. It's the other businesses that made money for them. But you cannot ignore their valuation. So, and it's a newer way of doing business. But I'm not telling everybody to go and sell your businesses or transacting at a loss, but you cannot ignore that part. We saw somebody speak about Nokia and what they did not see coming. So we cannot ignore that part of the business or that part of the world tomorrow. We need to know how and what to do to ensure the valuation is going. But core values must stay in place. You must keep your core values absolutely right in the forefront of all your actions, and the valuation is defined by your transactions. So that's my take.
Excellent. Good point in the sense it is what you are trying to say is for any organization to grow, there are two eyes. Both eyes are important. Now we come to the next point, which is always bothering me. In our today's industry, the attrition rate is very high. And nothing wrong in people getting themselves trained or something like that, they go to another organization. But what we see in the marketplace is, one guy will go from one organization to another, along with him another 10 people will go. It's something like a bird syndrome. One bird starts flying from Australia, the whole flock of birds will fly with that bird, that is what we have. This is very prevalent in the last 10, 15 years, in the sense, one guy goes, I was recently sitting in a company's interview panel. The first, when we started talking to him itself, he told me, sir, in case you want, I can get my entire team. It has come to that level. I told him, the company wants to engage you, not your team. You don't need to bring, what does it convey? If 20, 30 people are going with one guy, this fellow is not capable of working without the team. Or those team members are incapable of working without this boss. But I can talk here, but the thing is, what is actually happening in the marketplace is same. One fellow goes, within a week or something, the whole team goes to that company. Fortunately, Desi companies are not, it's insulated from that. Fortunately. What's your view of this attrition, Vaibhav?
So,
Level of attrition.
high level. So, I think there is a challenge of attrition that we face as an industry and even as a country. You know, I was reading a book by Mr. Chandra Sen, the chairman of Tata, and he says about how there is an elevator effect. You know, there is a high demand on educated manpower, whereas majority of our workforce is engaged in agriculture. So the educated manpower, for example, what we need to get into our workforce is in demand by multiple industries, whether it's banking, whether it's BPO, whether it's logistics, supply chain, everything. So obviously people have options today. They have a choice. And they will want to go in for experiential opportunities where they are enjoying their work, where they are getting mental stimulation, where they are getting growth, vis-a-vis where they are getting beat around and pushed and made to, put in energy, literally like a donkey in some cases, you know. So you have to have appreciation. So attrition is something that sits heavy on our industry, and that's, I think, one of the big areas of focus where we as entrepreneurs have to put our energy in. You know, something like Chaitali mentioned, gender diversity. Now, how many of our policies are tailored around women and women employment to be able to ensure that, you know, women are comfortable to come to the workplace? I think maternity leave and other things are something that we all talk about and look at it as a government mandate. You know, what about companies? I mean, this is something that we as an industry would have to really think about if we want to attract a talent. I mean, in that same book, he talks about how women in the workforce are not coming in because there aren't policies. There aren't other things that allow this. So attrition can be taken care of by being a little innovative and opening yourself up to large parts of the workforce that can come in and be brought in. Again, a second aspect which you touched upon was, people moving in, say, groups, for example. Now, this is also uniquely a challenge because sometimes people are moving because, you know, the organization they're part of is facing financial trouble, where, you know, people are getting into a bad cycle or something like that. So there could be some genuine reasons, there could be some ingenuine reasons. And you as an entrepreneur or as a company would have to understand whether people are coming for the company or for that one leader. Because our goal as entrepreneurs today is to build the brand of the entity. You know, this was something that was touched upon yesterday multiple times. I saw in presentations where I said people change because of bad managers or bad leaders. Now it is the duty of the company to build an ecosystem where you have visibility of such bad managers and arresting those managers early enough so that you don't lose the talent down below. That's the visibility, that's the task that we have to be creating, and that's how they have to do the measurability of every role. So that you know when there is bias being brought in, you can arrest the attrition, because when you have got somebody who's already conditioned in your company and already learned what you're doing, you've already invested 6, 8 months, 1 year of resources into that person. So initially you got to spend time, you got to make sure that the person's comfortable, and you got to do it at all levels because you don't know what challenges people are facing, what is happening. And that 10-15% initial experience will give them that experience and flavor. And then as an organization, if you have a culture of an organization, then that is what people will want to work for.
That's true. That's right. That's the people work for an organization, not for individuals. For the organization, if they have to work, as you rightly said, your comfortable environment, that comes through culture. Excellent. Chaitali, your views on it?
Actually, yes. So there was a point some years back where we lost a couple of people. And for the longest time, I thought that we lost people because of who I am and how demanding I am and probably my nature, and I could be difficult to work with, till I realized that it was not that. There were a lot of other factors to it, so I could actually sleep peacefully at night and not hold myself guilty. But the thing is that I'm going to split it into two. I'm going to split into gender, men and women. We've never really lost women workforce. And I'm extremely proud of that. If at all we've had women leave us, is because they could not, their kids could not stay, or they could not find babysitters, or they had problems at home, and that's why they have left, and some of them have even come back again. When it comes to the men, I have noticed that over a period of time, the quality of people that we have is reducing, and the fact is that they are not getting motivated enough. Many of them leave because MNCs, vis-a-vis Indian companies, the MNCs are offering them better salaries, not better work culture. So what I have come to realize is that if you want to keep somebody engaged, one is to make them realize how important their role is to the company, like what Avishkar said, or even as Vaibhav said. It's very important for them to know, even if it is a peon, that the work that they do is very, very important for the growth of the organization. And I'm extremely proud to say that today we have helpers and peons with us for the last 45 years. And we turned 45 in October. So the very fact that we've had people with us means we are doing something right. The second thing is to give them, make them feel proud of who they are and help them when they have difficulties. And when I say help them when they have difficulties, is just not financially, because all of us do it, but it is also be there morally and physically for them. And again, for that, it could be that they could have had a bad day and a shipment could have been lost. But they have that confidence coming to you 5 minutes later when they have a personal problem, because they know that you are going to keep the two things separate and you're going to give them the due value, because at that point of time, that shipment which is messed up is not important. And the third thing is pretty much, again, is what Vaibhav touched upon, is that companies where you have a flat system, where you have managers on managers on managers, many a times people get fed up is because the bosses don't hear the people down the line. And they have either become such big companies that their staff does not have access to them. And this is something that I've learned from Vishbhai, to keep the cabin always open. And they can call him at 12 o'clock in the night and speak to him. And that, I think, is a key factor when you grow really big, is that if you have access to your top boss and not just your managers and your VPs and whoever is there down the line, you would not have that level of attrition.
That I think he has already done it, I know that. Time is getting up. Okay, we have heard on two people. Now I'm coming to an important point. Today our industry is more compliance oriented. We have got too many compliance issues. How do you look at it? Do you think it is a facilitator or it is an inhibitor? That is, compliance is making our life miserable, or compliance is helping us to do business better?
So whenever new compliance comes in, initially we all feel quite miserable about that. Because once the new compliance comes in, we all have to start adapting to, to match those compliances. However, in the long run, we'll always see that those compliances make our systems better. I'll just give a small example here of a voluntary compliance we did. Our company is now a Great Place to Work certified company. 3 years ago, when we thought of getting this compliance and this certification of being a Great Place to Work company, we saw the processes which were required, and it would take maybe 3 to 6 months to get certified. We were like, no, why do we need it? It's not compulsory, and we don't need to do it because how will we get that time? But that made us think that if we want to be a company with transformational growth, the top management has to delegate responsibilities down the line and be free to upgrade the company culture so that we can match these compliances. Those 6-7 months were one of the best periods of my professional career so far, because we started getting those systems in place, and by becoming agile and getting this compliance of a Great Place to Work, we saw that yes, our managers and our employees are also capable of taking more roles and responsibilities. We just need to trust them, have structured interactions with them, and as Chaitali also mentioned, have a bridge so that they can at least get their message across to the top management. So to just end the answer, I would say compliance is, when they come in, it feels problematic. We have to adapt around it. But always when we look back, whether it is GST, whether it is the new compliances coming in, it has helped the companies in the long run.
Very good. I'm going to get all these youngsters. As we go old, we become very generous, we become very philanthropic, we try to do a lot of charities, donations. I want to hear from these young people. What do you think about that type of attitude as a corporate social responsibility?
Okay, great. So I would also give me another 60 seconds to get back to the attrition topic. Just for the interest of everybody, we are a decent sized organization and we've had lots of people joining in. So I would just like to share a couple of thoughts for everybody here. So, the pyramid of your team, so you have the people with lower salaries at the bottom and the higher ups. Now, there are different needs at all levels. And when you look at the bottom level, that's where money is more important. And as you get higher up, it is the engagement, and right at the top, the decision-making ability, which makes all the difference. So if you are able to translate the need of your team members, constantly look at their career growths, as much as your own business growth, less and less amount of people will leave you. And this pyramid is something that everybody must take into their own self in the way they structure and work. Because the more and more engaged that the team is, and at the higher up, the more decision-making powers that your top executives will have, the lesser amount of attrition you will. CSR. So CSR is, again, it's part of your core value system. It's not necessary that the government announces and you have to spend a part of your company's turnover or profitability in doing a corporate social responsibility. But it's a lot about that comes from the inside that is extremely important. Us as an organization have always been highly philanthropic. My father's been very, very, very much gone down this lane right from the outset that I remember him. So I think CSR is extremely important, and a lot of CSR activities can actually help you in your retention of people as well. Because a lot of CSR need not go just outside the system. There's a lot of people in your system itself who need help. So if you associate your CSR activity first on the inside and then on the outside, you will also be able to retain more people.
Excellent. Good advice to everybody. We have been given signals that it is time to get out of the place. But at the same time, I want to tell each one of you, during the lunch break, one young boy came. His name is Kunal Amit. He was telling me, I got some ideas which I like to share with you. Kunal, you have to excuse me because I'm getting signals from the entire team. Actually, we wanted to hear you also. But, there are, I think, some dignitaries are coming, so it is time for me to close it. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, we could give, the children gave a very good insight of their experience. The children gave a very good, they shared some of their thinking process. Thank you very much, and I leave it to our moderator.
So, thank you, sir. We've got two questions from the floor. Maybe we would take two simultaneously. One is for any panelist. Do you feel your predecessors could have run your company differently before you joined?
Very certainly. No generation is the same. Every generation is different. And I think the generation before me ran the company in an absolute apt way. They did a fairly good job with it. And we are blessed to have more gadgets, more technology access, more information and data access to us than what they had. But, I think there's nothing wrong, and probably the gen next to us will also feel the same. They will have far more gadgets and equipments and access to information and data.
I'm going to add to this, and I'm going to say that the previous generation had one quality that I have found lacking in me, and I have no qualms in saying it, is to earn the loyalty of the people. So if you look at how successful maybe my father has been, It could be whatever. I'm not even talking in terms of the value, not in terms of the company turnover and all, but in terms of the people. I would probably say that his generation, whether it is Sharmaji or it is Vipin uncle and all, including my dad, Meenu uncle, Prabha uncle, I think their generation definitely knew what made it happen, what made people tick, and that is why they enjoy the loyalty of the people that I don't think any one of us in our lifetimes is going to enjoy that kind of loyalty. And yes, that definitely in my books is one of the highest levels of success.
Vaibhav, you would like to add something?
Well, I'd just like to add that, if you go into retrospect and start analyzing the past about how they ran the company and what they did, you can't do that without knowing what the system was at that time or what was happening. We're talking about having mobile phones from the earliest point in life. They were doing telexes and other things. So that's how it was done, and it was done whatever way it was, and now you are with what you have.
They have done it to the best of their ability and conditions.
That's it.
And if you start analyzing it, probably our life will become even miserable.
So the next question is regarding multinationals. I don't think we should get into this because, sorry for that, the person who's asked the question. So let us wind up this session. So I need to say thank you. Thank you to Govind sir, and thank you to all the panelists. Basically what is coming out of this session is that these people who have joined their family business are happy. They all stressed on values. As we say sir, that values have no value unless you value them. So values is what in turn is bringing the valuation to their companies. They are happy. We have this convention is one platform where we show the next generation, where we encourage to bring your families to join here, just to show the bondage we have amongst ourselves, the kind of standards we have, the kind of topics we are discussing, and the kind of entertainment and the happiness or the fellowship we do in the evenings. So thanking you all the panelists for joining, thanking you for coming into this business, and thanking you, sir. So let us close this session. We have very important sessions. Now we'll do some pleasantries. Please, MC.
Thank you so much. It was a great session. So I hope we all got lots of information about this. So please give a huge round of applause to them. Once again, thank you so much for all the panelists. Thank you. Now may I request Mr. Shankar Shinde to felicitate Shri MVS Chowdhury, Chief Commissioner of Customs, Chennai, with the bouquet and flowers. So please welcome onto the stage, sir. I would request A.V. Vijay Kumar sir to join the stage. And I would request Nataraja sir to join the stage, please. Thank you. Now may I request Mr. Shankar Shinde Now may I request Mr. Shankar Shinde and now may I request our Chief Commissioner of Customs to share a few words for this lovely evening.
Good afternoon to all of you. It gives me great pleasure to be here. All this has been a surprise. I will not come here to get some felicitation or to speak something. I came to catch up my old friends from Pune, Deepak Bhargav, Pradeep Kale, Captain Samrat. They have been of some great assistance and help to me when I was Commissioner of Customs at Pune. Similarly, I had an invitation from Natraj and Shekhar, they are actually my eyes and ears in Chennai Customs here. They invited me to be here just even for a couple of minutes. I have a wonderful association with them. In fact, I always assess my own performance as a Chief Commissioner of Customs and how I keep the entire supply chain continuity going on without any disruption is through the feedback or consistent feedback I get from them through our monthly coordination meetings. In fact, I always say I am trying for a 100% pass mark, but every monthly coordination meeting, they come with something, that process or some procedure here and there to be improved. I always look for a meeting when they say that everything is going smoothly here in Chennai Customs. I'm happy to be here and I'm sure all of you would have come from different parts of the country. Chennai is such a wonderful city. I think you would have had excellent hospitality and arrangements here. I wish all the best for you and your industry, and thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thanks once again for the felicitation you have offered to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It's our pleasure to have you here with us in this lovely evening. Thank you. Now I would request Mr. Dushyant Mulani, sir, to come onto the stage once again to present a memento to Mr. B. Govindarajan, COO, Tiruvin Management Services Private Limited. I would request Mr. Govindarajan to present a memento to Mr. Yashpal Sharma, Skyways Air Services Private Limited. Thank you. Once again, I repeat, I request Mr. Govindarajan to present a memento of our appreciation to Mr. Vaibhav Vora, Managing Director, Continental Carriers Private Limited. Next, I request Mr. Govindarajan to present a memento of our appreciation to Mr. Avishkar Srivatsava, Chief Innovation Officer, the PDP Group. Next, I request Govindarajan to present a memento of our appreciation to Ms. Chaitli Mehta, Director, EKF Global Logistics Private Limited. Thank you. Can we have a group picture, please? I request Shankar Shinde and A.V. Vijay Kumar to join for a group picture. The session is not yet over. I would request the audience to be seated. Please remain seated. Thank you. Thank you. It's our time to honor our sponsors.